Welcome to Story Hour, a virtual meetup hosted by Wolf and Heron.
So Mary, the stage is yours. Thank you for being here.
I wanted to win this contest more than anything I've ever wanted as a 13-year-old. But if I won, it would be the most humiliating day of my life. It was 1965, and I was a student at St. Joe's Parochial School. I had never trusted the nuns, thinking they were like some alien beings who patrolled the classrooms, with a ruler and a firm hand. And they scared me. Our 8th grade nun was Sister Ann Patricia, and I expected the same from her. But she laughed a lot, and she wanted us all to be great writers. I appreciated that about her. And she held these essay contests every so often, but the big one was the autobiography essay contest. So I wanted mine to be different, of course. So I wrote about being in the womb with my twin brother, Billy, and how he took up all the nutrients and took up all the space, and that once I got out of the womb, I was going to wreak revenge on him. Now, it could have gone either way with her. She could have thought, well, this is creative and funny, or talking about wombs and stuff, she might have been offended. I had no idea. So the day came when she was going to announce the winner. Now, I really wanted it, and my patron saint was St. Francis with an I, so I prayed to him, please let me win. Then I thought, no, I take it back. Don't let me win. Have me be honorable mention. I can deal with that. The reason being is the prize was that you read the story essay out loud to your classmates. And I was a stutterer. So I wasn't going to do that, no matter what. I wasn't going to do that. So Sister Ann announces the winner, and she says, I'm old now. I'll never forget this moment. And she stood off to the side of her desk, and she held out this piece of paper and said, the winner of the autobiography essay contest is, and she does this little drum roll, and she says, Mary Roberts. Well, how your mouth goes dry. I was terrified. I thought, I have to make an excuse. I have to go home, or I just couldn't do this. Then she said, I love this essay so much. I'm going to read it myself out loud. I still remember that. So nobody was, fooled. They all knew she was doing it because I was a stutterer. It was still embarrassing, but that embarrassment was a whole lot less than it would have been if I had to get up there and read that essay, which I thought was brilliant, but it wouldn't certainly sound brilliant. So it was like the first inkling of this feeling I felt, that it was called, I think, gratitude. A few months before that, we were out in the playground, which for us was the parking lot for the rectory, which is a house where the priests live, and they park their cars over the corner when school's on. But there was one basketball hoop, and we went out and shot hoops and stuff. And Sister Ann Patricia was our teacher. She knew basketball. So one day, Katie Fitzgerald starts yelling at me, and she goes, "Hey, Mary, pass the ball, Mary." So, giggling the whole time. So I turned to her, and I had the basketball behind my head, and I was going to throw it so hard at her face that she would never have the same face. And then I hear, "Pass me the ball, Mary." And I turned, it was Sister Ann Patricia. I passed her the ball. I had to. She was open. So, and we won the game because of that shot. So she comes over and raises my hand up and says, "Hey, great passing, Mary." And so I went home and told everybody. We weren't great for celebrating each other's victories. We were this dysfunctional Irish Catholic, family out of New England. But still, I saw some begrudging respect for my three brothers, who were very good basketball players. It took me years to get on stage, almost 50 to be precise. And maybe if she had made me, get up and face my fears, it would have been earlier. But what I remember most about that one moment in time was this a feeling of this nun who her only goal was to make me, to feel comfortable. It was kind of the essence of kindness. Thank you.
Unmute to clap. Unmute to clap.
Thank you, Mary, for sharing your story. Let's begin by focusing on what did Mary do well? What do you think she should hold on to? What was especially powerful or influential about her story? And go ahead and put your hand up to contribute. And I saw Stephanie first.
Mary, I really liked your attention to the theme. I think, we have the theme Unlikely Allies, and it really did feel like you thought about a story that would bring that forward without your point being about unlikely allies. Your point was about kindness and gratitude and these moments of, just like compassion. And so I appreciated that, and I liked how you wove that thread throughout.
Mariana.
Yeah, I similarly, I feel like there's a very clear through line in the entire story. But particularly, I just thought you did a nice job closing and ending, where sometimes I think telling stories, you kind of end and then keep talking. Or maybe I should say, sometimes I find that I will end a story and then keep talking, and then it just takes away from the entire story. And I felt like you brought it together really crisply and just moved to stop talking. So that was really beautiful.
Thanks.
Milo.
First of all, congratulations on getting over your stuttering. I didn't catch any of it. In fact, I thought your you didn't. Well, I just got to say, your attempt at stuttering during the story actually sounded like it was a poor attempt at it. So that's an indicator of how far you've come. Second, I think the story was told in a very compassionate way, which I appreciate. So it sounded genuine, and it certainly sounded like you were revealing some things that were difficult to talk about. I know that's one of the things that we mentioned here, to speak from a place of vulnerability to gain the trust of your audience. So I appreciated that it fit within the time. It's you definitely nailed it on what Stephanie talked about, and so that's the positives that I was able to identify.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Candace.
Oh yeah, I also want to say that I love your opening. Like, just one sentence is simple, but it's like very powerful, and it builds up all the tension. It like brings up all my curiosity to follow like what happened, what is going to happen. Yep.
John, did you have your hand raised as well?
Yeah. So you have a really conversational style of delivering stories, which is something that I don't usually have. And you also, the story had there was so much authenticity to it, and I just thought of something like kind of a tentative definition for authenticity that this story embodies, and that's emotional depth without embellishment. And I just felt like
Thanks.
it was moving. It was surprising, because I thought the direction you were going was this potentially transformative experience of having to speak in front of your class and being very nervous, and it turned into a story about this act of kindness and you tied it into another story seamlessly, you know, the story about the basketball court. I just really liked it through and through. I liked the structure and I liked the delivery.
You know, we've had a couple of comments now, everyone talking about authenticity and this emotional depth and stuff. And I do want to kind of point it back to one of the superpowers that we talk about all the time, which is keep it real. And I think what we're hearing, Mary, is that you did that very, very well. And when we do talk about keep it real, it is extremely difficult to do well because it does require some amount of vulnerability. It requires that you share something of yourself as the storyteller. And so it's, you know, and yet if you do it well, it is extremely powerful in terms of building trust with your audience, getting your audience to buy into your message, hearing you, really actively listening. All of these things become more activated when you do keep it real well. And so that is definitely something that you have as a strength in this story.
Thanks.
And
I
some part
do
about
storytell. I go and I miss the stage. I've only been doing it 3 years now, I think.
it comes through. It feels like you have a confidence with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think
Finally.
Yay. But it felt like you were prepared, and at the same time not prepared in a way that you weren't able to connect with what you were saying. So that's another element of being present and authentic, is that you're not so crafted with your story that it's like you're reading, right? And you're not still there.
Yeah.
Awesome first story. Okay. And what could Mary experiment with next time? Perhaps do differently, change up a little bit, try anew. Any ideas for her? Stephanie.
My inclination, this is an experiment. I don't know if it's the right thing to do, especially because you were already a little bit over time. But my inclination was to live in this moment of winning this essay contest for longer before you get saved. You know, you mentioned like your mouth going dry, and you mentioned the terror. But I was like, I want to hear more, right? I want to like really feel the anxiety and the stress and like the heat in my body and like oh my God, and my face turning red and like everything. And then I think what will help to elevate the power of that moment of kindness. If we can feel how desperately afraid you are. And so that was something I was kind of like, I think that drama moment can be magnified.
Yeah, good idea.
I'll raise the hand for myself. I had a similar thought, and then another thing to try out would be to just tell that story, to not have the ball story, but to just focus on the contest and find a way to focus on that part of the transformation and your discovery in that moment. You did do it effectively, which John mentioned, like it worked to have both stories, but I think I don't know that you need it. I think you could just be focusing on the contest.
Yeah, and I thought about that earlier. I thought, well, I wanted to show her being more of an ally, but by just highlighting the amount of pain this would put me in, and you know, opening up the moment a little more, that I think it would also still show it as effectively.
Mm-hmm. Other ideas?
I think it helps develop her character further. And I mean, there would be value added in a way to make it, to just anchor in that one story and to go into a little bit more detail. But I think you could argue either way, and I enjoyed the way that it enhanced her character.
Yeah. I mean, another experiment would be to actually tell it chronologically. Tell the basketball story first. Just as another, like, if you're playing with story structure, that might be something else that you could experiment with.
Yeah. Milo.
Now, I do think that this was a great story. I always have to preface that for constructive criticism. But I did feel like the story was quite monotone at times. It just kind of, it went from like there was no emotional kind of journey that I went on. So it was really auditory. So I feel like if you had some voice inflection or you became louder at times, it would be a way to re-engage with audience members that maybe fell into a daydream or something like that. And then I will repeat that going into the basketball story also kind of took me for a little bit of a loop, because I was like, oh, okay, we're heading in a different direction now. And so it kind of made me wonder just where we were going. Yeah, that's it. You know what, I think I'm way better on stage, but aren't we all? But you know, when I do work on a story, I have to say, I'm practicing it inflection wise. I put it on the phone, listen to it. I do it in front of the computer probably 50 times. And I don't know, there are people who maybe are better at this right away, but the practice is where I have to do, because I know I can be kind of deadpan. But I think that's because this is very emotional. I got a little emotional. I always do. Why? when she says, "I'll read the essay for you."
I got a little.
It was great though. I loved hearing that. You know, like I loved knowing that was still real for you in a way, because it made the gift more powerful. All right. Thank you guys for feedback. Thank you again, Mary.
Thank you. Thanks for feedback.
Visit wolfandheron.com to find out more about our story hours.